Hey everyone, welcome back. Another concept here that I want to talk about is that of public goods. Now, public good is a specific type of good, and it's defined by two different characteristics. And you can use these two characteristics to identify several different types of goods. And so the characteristics have to do with rivalry and excludability. So rivalry and excludability. Rivalry has to do with whether or not by my consuming the good, I make it less available for others. Right? So when, let's unclear, let's try that again. I consume the good, does that mean less is available for others? If the answer is yes, then a good is rival. If the answer is no, then we'd say it's non-rival. Right? So it's either rival or non-rival. So when I eat a candy bar, that's rival, because when I eat the candy bar is gone and it's not available for someone else. If I'm stargazing and I look up and try to identify the Little Dipper, or some other constellation, stargazing is non-rival, right? My looking up and absorbing enjoying the nighttime sky does not make the nighttime sky any less available for others. Right? Eating a candy bar, rival. Stargazing, non-rival. And so that's the question of rivalry, right? And then right, we're getting to the question: is it rival or non-rival? That's really the question there. Similarly, with excludability, we want to get to the question. We want to ask the question: is a good excludable or non-excludable? So, to figure that out, you say, can you prevent a non-payer from consuming? So, grocery stores are really good at this, right? They sell goods that are excludable. If you don't pay for it, then you're not entitled to have it. Now, do they have a problem? Like, do retail stores sometimes have a problem with shoplifting, right? Shrinkage, I believe it's referred to in the industry. Sure, right? Sometimes things are stolen. But generally speaking, goods that you would purchase in a store are excludable, right? They exclude you if you don't pay for it. Now, are there goods that are non-excludable? Sure, right? Things that you can enjoy without having to pay for them. So a local park, right, is non-excludable. At least, most the way they run most county parks, right, and municipal parks. And that is, I could show up and go to the park in your county even if I don't live there and pay taxes. Now, some parks are excludable. National parks, even state parks in New York are excludable, right? They have, often there's a gate, right? And there's somebody who charges admission. And sorry, if they charge admission, then it's excludable. But your local playground is probably non-excludable. Your state park in New York, they are excludable. In Pennsylvania, most of them are not, right? They're just open. You can drive in and enjoy them. I can give you the names of some state parks in Pennsylvania. Drive down, have a nice day, right? Enjoy yourself. They don't try to keep you out if you didn't pay taxes to support it. Those are just different approaches. Now, there are private parks as well. Seabreeze, right? Hershey Park. Those are examples of parks that are private parks and they're excludable. You don't pay admission. You don't get to go through the gate, right? And check them out. But that's what excludability has to do with. Can you prevent a non-payer from consuming? So public goods are by definition non-rival and non-excludable. And so if we make this little matrix here where we take the question of rivalry and we ask, is it rival or non-rival? And we take the question of excludability and we ask, is it excludable or non-excludable? Then if public goods are both non-rival and non-excludable, that puts us in this cell in the matrix. Right? So public goods are non-excludable and non-rival. And private goods, right? Those ones that I said the grocery store sells, those are private goods. Those are both rival and excludable. And then we talked about the problem of the commons, right? The tragedy of the commons, or the common resource problem. That would be over here, right? The commons problem happens when goods are non-excludable, but when they are rival, right? So you can't stop people from fishing, in the lake, but when they catch the fish, there are fewer fish available for others, right? That would be an example of the common resource problem. But our topic today is that of public goods, right? And public goods are both non-excludable and non-rival. Now, why do we talk about them? Why are we concerned? People are concerned about this issue of free riding and the problem that, will private individuals within the market adequately supply public goods? That's the question. Because, is that a good business model? Hey, potential investor, here's my plan. I want to produce something that I can't charge people for, and once it's out there, everybody can use without getting in each other's way. You might not gain a lot of startup funding, right? If that's your entrepreneurial plan. So I see the concern. Many of these goods, if they are truly public goods, there's a concern about private provision of them, and that's where governments may sometimes step in and provide them. However, there's a lot of gray areas, right? Local streets are provided by the government, but there are toll roads, right? There are toll roads. Some of those are run by the government. The New York Thruway is administered by a government agency, but there are private toll roads as well. And farther south, you will find private toll roads, not run by the government, funded completely from tolls. Ronald Coase asked this question, about lighthouses as an example. Back when lighthouses were used as navigational tools, right? The lighthouse is an example of a public good. Once it's out there, it's available for lots of people to see and triangulate off of and try to find their way into port. And it's hard to stop someone who didn't pay, from using it. Except in the real world, I think they actually had, once you got into port, there were certain fees that were levied, as a result of your using the port. And that may have helped fund the lighthouse that made the port accessible. So it's interesting. Usually when we think about public goods, people will talk about, law, police and courts, national defense. And national defense is a good example. Just because you're protected doesn't make me any less protected, by our national defense, by our military, by the Pentagon. And if I stop paying my taxes, there may be consequences, but I'm not any less vulnerable to foreign attack, right, if I don't pay my taxes than if I do. Right? So those are some examples of what are perhaps public goods that people might say there's a role for government to provide because we're not sure the private market would provide them. So follow up if you have questions.